Sanbonani, Southern Africa, Sanbonani, Far Eastern Catholic News. This is Kati Dijane. I'm so excited to be crossing live from the Diocese of Manzini, the only diocese in the Kingdom of Eswatini. And I'm very excited to be standing next to my beloved Bishop, who used to be my parish priest in Davidson parishes, and that is in the Archdiocese of Johannesburg in the Far Eastern Deanery. And so, Bishop Luis Jose Ponce de León was installed a bishop. So he was appointed in 2008 as the vicar of Ingwavum. And then in 2013, the late Pope Francis appointed him as the Bishop of Manzini. But I think he's the best person to tell us more about his journey. And we are standing here, so today being the 11th of May, so we were officially launching, and Ubaba was blessing the Rosary Garden here at Florence Spiritual Centre. And I think it's a very significant time for us as Catholics in this diocese, because it was launched during the month of Mother Mary, the month of the Holy Rosary. And Ubaba, as a Consolata missionary, they have an attachment, a special one, to Mother Mary as a Consolata missionaries, as the name says. But Baba, I think for me, I've always been interested in wanting to know more about the vocation journey of anyone who chooses to be a priest or a nun. And I would love for you to please take it back for us when you started your journey in the same diocese as the late Pope Francis, where you were born. Ne? Am I right? Oh, yes, I'm right. Thank goodness.
Right.
So I would love to know, you were born in Buenos Aires, I hope I pronounced it correctly, in Argentina. Please tell us about your journey to the priesthood. How was your childhood? Can you paint a picture for us in terms of what drew you to this vocation?
Thank you. Well, welcome to the Kingdom of Eswatini and the Diocese of Manzini, and a great opportunity to say hi to the people of Davidton that really welcomed us with open arms in January 2004. Well, my journey basically started, I would say, when I was probably 13 years old, could be. I don't remember now well exactly. I used to know well the things. I was going for Mass with the family, with my parents basically, and my sister, to a chapel in town. Was not normal, but there was this chapel, part of a parish, close to our home, and I was invited to help at the moment of the offertory, taking the bread and the wine to the altar, and they invited me once, twice, and then they invited me to join the youth group. Well, if I have to be honest, probably there is where my missionary vocation started, because 3 months later we had a problem with the priest in charge of that chapel, and we left that chapel and we moved to another parish. Parishes are very close to each other in my hometown. There are many. And so we moved there to the one that was exactly our parish geographically. And after a year, we had a problem with the seminarian that was there in charge of the youth, and we left that parish. That's why some of my missionary vocation started probably there. And we are talking about the 70s. Very interesting time also in the church. And we went for Mass to the chapel of a clinic, where the youth group was playing with electric guitars and a number of things. And we were visiting, but the nun in charge confused us, and they thought that we were the ones playing, and they invited us to stay. And as we were unemployed, basically, we remained there. But we were not very excited with the priest, really. Young people. A few hundred meters, there was the Consolata missionary's house, and we went there looking for a priest. We would continue where we were, but we wanted a priest that could be with us. And there was a newly ordained priest who took the challenge. And what happened basically is that by being with them, I came to discover the missionary work of the church, which for me was completely new. I always say my call was a package. It was not just to be a priest. It was to be a priest, religious life as a community, and a missionary one. In fact, I joined the community when I was 18. Um, I started my studies in Argentina. I went to Colombia for novitiate, theology. I was ordained in Argentina. And after 7 years being in Argentina, I wrote to the Superior General saying I joined this community to be sent. And I am afraid that time is passing, I'm going nowhere. I never had to learn any other language aside of my mother tongue. And please send me before it is too late. And I was afraid because he was at the end of his second term as superior. So the message was, do me a favor, send me before the end of your term because we don't know who is coming after. And he did it. He sent me to South Africa, where I arrived in January 1994, a blessed time to be there, just 4 months before Mandela became president. So, but that was 31 years ago.
My goodness, and that is so interesting. Like, but what is it apart from you moving? Like you explained that you were moving from one parish to the next, looking for maybe a vibrant priest. But apart from that, what do you think sparked that missionary aspect of your calling, as compared to you being a diocesan? And what is it that made you sure that this is the path I want to follow?
Well, I think every vocation is important. And I say now as a bishop, I think the diversity, this is a lovely diocese in which what I inherited from my predecessors is that sense of appreciating each other. So we are in Florence, where we have normally the diocesan pilgrimage in August. And it's interesting because it's never the property of a certain group. It can be a diocesan priest organizing it, and he will involve any religious priest available during the night. Or it can be that he will ask one religious to be the MC. They identify each other's gifts, and we journey together. And if I will have to answer the question now, I will do it with the help of Pope Francis. I think it's the joy of the gospel. I think that what I came to discover through the Consolata missionaries was that Jesus is good news, and that wish that everyone would know him.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful, Baba. And I think for me, it's also interesting for the young person watching this in terms of usually they are attracted by what they see in terms of whether they want to be married, they want to be priests, or whatever it is. So for that young person, maybe who's battling with what vocation they might have, what would you say is the first point of reference? Because we're trying also to bring as much information pertaining to different vocations and inspire by speaking with the bishops and the priests and the nuns and even married people. So what is that first point of contact for the young person watching this in terms of what does God have in store for me in terms of my calling to happiness or holiness?
I first of all, I would like to, because you said something now that I like it very much, different from what we were saying at the beginning. It's not about what I want to be. For us as Christian is what does God want from me? Say, because God knows me better, and so knows what I'm made for. The second thing is, so the main thing is, how can I identify really God's voice in my heart and what God is telling me to do? After my ordination for a few years, I was in charge of the seminarians, the Consolata missionary seminarians in Argentina. And I had some sleepless nights because my point was this one. If this man is not called to be a consolata, and I am afraid of telling him, he will never be happy because he's in the wrong place. But if it's not his call, and I am not telling him, he will never be happy. Or if it is his call, and I stop him because I don't see clearly myself, he will never be happy. So the point is to be able to hear that voice regarding what God is calling me to be. The second thing is, a number of times with priests, can even be much more with missionaries, people will say, I left Argentina 31, 32 years ago. I left in 1993 to go to learn English in London. So I have been away, going on holidays every now and then, but it's 32 years that I'm away from Argentina. And people will say, "Oh, what a sacrifice!" Uh, and I say, uh, every call is got its challenges. It's not that it is more difficult to be a priest or a nun or a missionary than married life. For God's sake, I, I, a real personal story. Sometimes sharing what I do with my sister, she will say, "I don't know how you do what you are doing." And when she tells me what she is doing, I says, "I don't know how you manage to do what you are doing." She's married. She has 4 children, and and so I don't think it is the fact that this call is more difficult than this one. No, every call as such has all the blessings attached to it and all the challenges for which you really need to journey with the Lord who called you. That's why we say, to whatever God is calling you, also give the grace.
Oh, okay. And I just wanted to mention as well that this month is a special month because on the 8th, Obaba celebrated his birthday. And on the 8th, the church was blessed with a new pope. And you share the same name in terms of his pontifical name is Pope Leo. And somehow you also are attached to the lion. And so I would like for you to maybe share with us how you felt when a new pope was elected on your birthday, and that beautiful connection that you also mentioned, I think yesterday, when you were talking about the same bishop who used to be the apostolic nuncio to Southern Africa. Is it Bishop Green? Also made our Pope a bishop as well at some point in his life. So can you just share with us that connection and what's your feeling behind our new Pope who has been recently elected?
I was joking saying that is on my birthday I gave this gift to the world. The media, we are deeply grateful to the media in Eswatini, and I would say, for what I have seen, the media in South Africa, for being so close to us from the time Pope Francis was sick until the time he died, and the meetings, the conclave. And the media here in Eswatini, at a certain point on the radio, they were asking me, but you must have a candidate to become Pope. And I says, honestly, I don't, because I realized that out of these 133 cardinals, if I know 20, is too many. So it would be dishonest for me to say, yes, I might like this one, but there might be much better persons for in this moment that God is choosing. So as I told the media, the only thing I'm looking forward is to be surprised. I was surprised in 2013. I was Apostolic Vicar of Nguavuma. I remember being in San Lucia with a poor internet connection, switching on and off to save data. And until I saw Francis coming and say, "My Archbishop," I was so surprised. So I never forgot that. And I was saying, I hope to be surprised once again. The media is talking about this, talking about that one. I just hope to be surprised. And I was. And I was. Thursday evening, it was so beautiful to see now Pope Leo. Interesting because he's the first pope from the United States, but at the same time he spent about 20 years in Peru, and he had that lovely detail of remembering in that moment his diocese in Peru. I can imagine what it meant for the people in Peru the moment he mentioned them. They might feel they were the center of the world. One of the things I treasure is this: in preparation for the elections, I was one of them who was saying it's going to be difficult for the cardinals because these 133 cardinals hardly know each other. And it's not enough to have some meetings to know each other better. So it might take time. In fact, I was caught unprepared on Thursday. The TV was on, and when I heard white smoke, and then I stopped everything I was doing. And I think in such a divided world, in a world where we seem to be fighting each other, where we are constantly unhappy about the other person for one reason or another, these 133 cardinals, after voting 4 times, they were able to identify the person. Remember that 2/3 of the present cardinals was needed, so 89 votes. Well, this is now secret, but we don't know if it is true or not. Media are talking that he had more than 100 votes.
Wow.
And I said, that's a gift of the Spirit. Cardinals coming from all over the world. All over the world. I said, from Paraguay in South America to my brother, Consolata missionary in Mongolia. And that's a gift of the Spirit. And being able to bring together, identify the person. And he comes with a lovely experience, born in the US, pastoral experience. Francis, it must be overwhelming for him. Francis called him to Rome at the beginning of 2023, entrusted him with a very delicate service, which is identifying the ones who are going to be appointed bishops in part of the world. And the same year he made it cardinal together with our brother Stephen Cardinal Brislin. But and in less than 2 years he finds himself being the successor of Peter.
And that's a beautiful gift. I mean, it's just 2 years, and then here he is as our Pope. So we are praying for him in Southern Africa. Baba, I just would like to touch on 2 more things, 2 more topics. The first one being communications and media in Southern Africa, particularly in terms of how young people have been able to make use of social media to bring good news for a change. I would love for you to please share with us or advise in terms of the importance of embracing media and the importance of using it for good use in terms of bringing God's good news for a change. Can you please share with us your love for the media and you embracing the media, as well as maybe advising that young person who would love to start this journey or want to participate in terms of spreading good news through this platform?
I think I am part of a generation who saw the main changes in media. When we had that event we were talking before in Eden Vale years ago, I was sharing the story in the sense that I moved from tapes to cassettes. Maybe you don't know what they are. And to all the different possible ways of doing sound today, and the same thing from putting films in a camera. It took me time to go into the digital, God knows why, in digital cameras, and today everyone carries a camera on the phone. And again, it took me time to get into Facebook initially, because when social media started, we were a bit like this, looking at a distance. Different, I would say, from the past, when I believe the church very quickly, that's my feeling, got into TV and radio. Radio especially was the way of reaching everyone. But with the coming of the social media platforms, we were a bit more careful. Today is completely different. We say it in the Vatican, really they have done amazing things. It's unbelievable what the Vatican does at the level of media, because you and me might be following only the English side, but they do every language. And someone was mentioning, probably there in the media office, it's a corridor where every room is a different language. So you have the whole world coming together, and it's not repeating the same things. It's adapting the news to the context in which it will be presented, which is very powerful. So I think today is a lovely space. Again, my other point was when I grew up, anything you would do on media had a price, financial cost. Today, we have this space in many ways free. We don't have to spend anything, only to have the data to do it. And with a good phone, during COVID, people thought I had a special expensive phone. I didn't. And every week we recorded the Mass because the internet connection was not powerful enough to do it live. We recorded the Mass, edited myself on the computer, and shared it on Saturday evening for Sunday for the people. So we were able, with nothing, to be able to reach the people and support them in a difficult time. So we are all encouraged to be part of it and to share the best of us, the best of who we are. I think that's the point. Because I saw it before the conclave. Suddenly on my phone appear things, clips against some of the cardinals. I said, who is using his time or her time to create these things and put in the mind of the people that's a dangerous person. One of them with whom I'm very close, and I say this is completely dishonest. So it's good to be present. It's good to share the best of who we are, and at the same time, it's important that we learn to filter. Because I see also the negative impact on myself. I was sharing that Mass today. Leo was presented to the world, and 3 hours later, there were some journalists already presenting him as in a terrible way. And you say, why? A man who comes out and chooses to greet the people with the same words of the risen Lord, peace be with you. A man who calls to build bridges in this moment with so much needed. He spoke about a disarming and a disarmed peace that we need in this time where everything is through weapons. Why to choose to present him in such a negative way? So yes, let us be present. Let's offer the best of ourselves and filter what really can start making us lose faith in humanity.
Definitely. I said it was 2 last questions, but now I'm just going on and on. Baba, I also would like to know, I mean, this weekend was a special weekend. There were events that were taking place, and I know you're very busy. So on Saturday the 10th, there was a memorial lecture. It's called the Bishop Mantlenkosi Swane Memorial Lecture. So it happens every year where they commemorate the first African Bishop of Manzini, Bishop Swane.
You're very close.
I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to get it wrong.
He was the first diocesan priest.
Diocesan.
The previous ones were all members of the Servite order, and they were Italians.
Okay.
The first and the second. And Mantlenkosi becomes the first Swazi and diocesan priest to become bishop. He was bishop for only 4 years. He died in a car accident. But clearly, there were very strong, powerful 4 years, because what I feel is that he really marked our diocese.
Yes. And I just wanted to ask in that context, in terms of the importance of you keeping his memory alive, not just him as a figure or as, like a museum per se, but someone who really contributed to the diocese, especially in an ecumenical sense. And I love that you invited Bishop Sipuka for the talk that he gave, as he's also the president of an ecumenical council. It's called the South African Council of Churches. So in that context, can you share with us in terms of the importance of keeping the legacy of Bishop Swane alive?
Yes, it was an initiative that came, I would say, 9 years ago. Probably it was 2016. The Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace under Caritas Eswatini, those days was Caritas Swaziland, came with the idea of having a memorial lecture on Bishop Swane, and I thought it was a good idea, and we invited Father Mangalisum Kachwa from South Africa to come, being relatives. And we decided then, because Madeleine Kosi, together with what he was, he really was a man who opened the minds of the people and very much committed in a number of social and ecumenical issues. In fact, here the Council of Swaziland Churches was born as a breakaway group. What happened is, talking about 1976, apartheid in South Africa, people coming here, civil war in Mozambique, people running away, and so he, together with other bishops, the body to which they belong, he said, we need to care for refugees. And the others say, no, that's not for us to do. And so Evangelical Lutheran Church, Anglican Church, and Catholic Church bishops, the three of them broke away and gave birth to the Council of Swaziland Churches, which is going to be 50 years next year. And so what became clear was that the first memorial lecture was about him. So we remembered him as such. The following ones would be on topics that Bishop Swane would have liked to talk about today. And so the following year we brought the famous Archbishop William Slattery from Pretoria. The joy of the gospel. That one is the joy of the gospel, really. And he spoke on Laudato Si. Then we had also Cardinal Peter Turkson coming from the Vatican to talk about peace and non-violence. We had the present Archbishop of Pretoria, Nabulampago, on synodality, our very own Domisani Villagatti, Father Domisani, who works in the Vatican in the dicastery from the integral development of the person. He came and spoke on We Are All Brothers and Sisters, Fratelli Tutti, the document of Pope Francis. And I might be missing another one. This was the 7th memorial lecture. And so we invited Bishop Sipuga to help us deepen on why and how churches should be working together.
Okay. And I think for me, the last question is the importance of young people in the church. It's the Jubilee Year of Hope, and I would love for you, Baba, to particularly give a message of hope to people that are watching, but particularly to young people because of the various challenges that are faced in so many ways that they are exposed to. Can you please share with us that message of hope? We are in the Jubilee of Hope, especially for that young person watching this, especially in your Diocese of Manzini.
I think I wish every parish, every diocese, I'm thinking of the experience we had here. I think it was a year ago, I can't really remember. I used to remember things very well. Now, I think with age, things become more difficult. We created a special, I remember we had a meeting of the DPC, the Diocesan Pastoral Council, with the members of the DPC, but we also brought, I think, 2 or 3 young people from every single parish according to age groups. And we worked in 2 different rooms out of fear that the young people might not feel free to talk. And we had the same questions. And then we came together to share, and I asked every parish to repeat the exercise locally. The point was to create spaces for the voice of the youth to be heard. And I think this is probably one of the most important things. In order to give hope to young people, one of the things we need to do is to open spaces to be able to listen to them. Not that we have the answers. Was a consulate and missionary, lovely man, he died in Ethiopia young, and he used to quote something that is known in other places. When I got the answers, they changed the questions, he was saying. So it's a changing world with new challenges and clear the distance as a generation between me and the young people is huge. And so what they go through, I might not really know it. So listening, part of our synodal journey, I think listening is the first step, and that's already a sign that of giving hope to them, and trying to listen also from them what the way forward could be. Interesting enough, if I'm not wrong, Pope Francis used to ask for the two extremes to listen to each other. The youth with their own goals and the way they see the world, and the experience of the old people, and which sometimes again no one listens to them, and so bringing that wisdom with the energy of the youth together.
Okay, thank you very much. And on that note, on the 10th, I don't want to say yesterday because I might upload this later, but on the 10th, uploaded. On the 10th, we celebrated the creation of the core cathedral. What inspired that?
Yes, it's not common. Probably in South Africa, as far as I know, only one diocese has a co-cathedral. Since I came to this diocese, I tried to become a bit restless, feeling that we had not recognized the role of Mater Dolorosa parish in the history of this diocese. Mater Dolorosa is in Mbabane and is the very first one. Everything started there. The first missionaries, after learning Zulu in South Africa, they crossed the border and they settled down in Mater Dolorosa. That was the first place. We are talking about 1914. January. By May, they opened the second place outside Manzini. So being the first place, being in the capital of the country, Mbabane is our capital here, and so we are a bit like South Africa. So while the capital is there, the commercial place is Manzini. It's like Pretoria and Johannesburg. I felt that it was important to recognize Mater Dolorosa. So I asked the Holy See if that could be done, if they would agree, and so it was granted to us to elevate Mater Dolorosa to the dignity of the co-cathedral. Nothing changes in Manzini. The ordination of the priest was done there a week before. But we put a new bishop's chair, nice one, very nice one, beautiful one, in Mater Dolorosa, as also the presence of the bishop in Mbabane.
With that said, thank you so much, guys, for always supporting the work that the Catholic media does. Please continue to support it. Subscribe, do whatever that you can, share, like, follow, TikTok, everything that will continue as digital missionaries bringing you good news for a change. Thank you so much for your support. I love you. Thank you, Baba, for welcoming me into your diocese. It was a beautiful weekend indeed. And yes, we'll continue praying for you and your diocese. Thank you.